Hello and welcome everyone again into another video. And today's video we'll be talking about the top teams in season 17. I know I made a video about this like last month or something, but every time Great League comes around, the meta slightly changed. And today's video, we have an updated version. I know the last one was updated, but it was updated about the one before. So without further ado, let's just go and talk about the meta and the Open Great League. If we look at the PvP ranking, number one Pokemon is Lickitung. Lickitung is like the most dominant Pokemon in the current meta. I mean, it's not a dominant Pokemon as a dominant Pokemon, but it's just a great safe swap like that. The only good answer to Lickitung is basically Basti and Poliwrath. Well, Basti, yes. Poliwrath is not technically an answer because you win the 0. And other matchups are also scuffed. We have Registeel. Registeel destroys Lucky. Okay, let's be honest. Gligar Shadow number 4. Gligar Shadow has been getting better at the ranking because of the regionals meta, because people in regionals realize that Shadow Gligar is just way better than the non-Shadow. So if you're using Gligar, why just don't use Shadow and just double shield it, right? Swampert is in a kind of an awkward situation because whatever a Swampert does, Whiscash do it better. And that's why Whiscash here, we have it today in the closer. I didn't know where to put it. I mean, it's not technically a good lead because you don't have fast move pressure. It's not a good safe swap because it gets walled. But it's a dominant Pokemon. If you get a Scald debuff, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, or you get a Scald debuffed, then the game is not the same. Whatever happens after the Scald debuff is not the same as before the Scald debuff. We have Skarmory. Skarmory is still an RPS Pokemon, but technically Skarmory is low-key a free elo Pokemon. People don't respect it enough, and it deserves more respect with the current meta. We have Carbink. I don't recommend using Carbink because Carbink loses to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of the best 11 Pokemons, okay? But it beats everything else, so let's be honest. It beats everything else. So does that make an argument for Carbink to be meta? Well, let's talk about the meta, okay? I have two videos, one about the top teams in Great League, one about the top teams in the Ultra League. The Ultra League won't be as detailed of a video, but the Great League one will be, for sure, very detailed. Because last time I asked, could you like to make it like a quick review? Most of you guys were like, no, just go through details, because I usually if you look at the video, it will be separated into parts. So you can, if you don't like this, you can just skip this part and go to the teams directly. So, good lead. What's a good lead? A good lead is a Pokemon that has a good fast move pressure and a baiting move and a nuking move. And the best example about that is the Deoxys Defense. You have Counter, you have Psycho Boost as a cheap energy move that does great damage, and we have Thunderbolt for the matchups like an Azu. Another one is Gligar. You have good fast move pressure with Wing Attack, you have good charge move pressure with Aerial Ace, and you have Dig to Nuke. We have something like Venusaur. You have good fast move pressure. You don't have a baiting move, but you have a great charge move, aka Frenzy Plant. And we have Medi is technically a good lead, but technically Medi has fallen off the meta after the Psychic nerf, because less Medi, with seeing way less Medi, way more Poliwrath. And into the safe swaps. The best safe swap in this cup by far, hands down, is Lickitung. Nothing is as good as Licky. Okay? But there are some Pokemons that are good to be used as safe swap, and they are known for being good safe swaps for ABB teams. As an example, if you see someone swapping Dugong, that's not because Dugong is a safe swap. That's because they have another Ice in the back, or something that's weak to Medi in the back, or something that's weak to Poliwrath in the back, and they just want to bait out the Poliwrath. We have Cresselia being a good safe swap in this cup. Why Cresselia is good? Because you destroy Poliwrath, Whiscash, Beta Dragonair, Altaria, and you have a neutral. Well, for the Cresselia, as long as you have a good IV, you should be doing good with this. Sableye has fallen off as the best safe swap in this meta, unlike 2 seasons before, because now the best safe swap is Licky. You could say that Poliwrath is still a good. Sableye is technically still a good safe swap, but not as good as Lickitung. Poliwrath, I've seen lots of safe swap Poliwrath. I've seen lots of safe swap Whiscash, and that's just because people don't run grass anymore. Why people don't run grass anymore? Well, technically, why? Because of Gligar, basically. and people don't run Lantern as much, so Grass is no longer as reliable. So your best Grass Pokemon is Lickitung. Power Whip is a Grass move, and your best Grass Pokemon is Lickitung. Second best Grass Pokemon is Cresselia, because it has Grass Knot. Serperior has still a good play, but it's not as good as last season. Umbreon, I wouldn't run Umbreon anymore, especially in the current season, because of the Polyrats are just everywhere, and the Whiscash matchup is no longer as dominant. Where like Umbreon used to dominate this matchup, but now if this thing Whiscash gets a debuff, it's no longer fun to play. Clodsire, I think Inadequance has been saying that this Pokemon is just so good, and I don't know what he's talking about. I still refuse to believe that Clodsire is good, but hey, he hit page 1 leaderboard with it. He hit 3100 during the last Great League meta, which is like around a month ago, which is insane actually. So I still refuse to say that it's good in the current meta. It's just because part of me wish that Clodsire still has the old moveset, not because Clodsire is bad. Look at this, like, you can't be mean to this face. Look how cute this face is, okay? In the closet size, we have a bunch of Pokemons, but the only one that's worth mentioning here, Registeel. Registeel is as good, is still as good. Just don't see Gligar, Poliwrath, and Whiscash, and it's tough to not see those. And we've seen people in regionals having success with Reggie, such as Doombug, who won not Portland. He won a regional using Registeel. Yes, there are like the what beast Reggie, like 1, 2, and there's another Pokemon, I think. Gligar are like just everywhere. Azu is insanely good in the current meta. It's one of the, I think it's the second best safe swap after Licky. So we talked about the Pokemons. There are some, I don't know, some anti-meta Pokemons I've seen people using, such as Shadow AWAC, such as Talonflame, such as Trevenant. Elam technically hit Legend. He was one of the first 5 in the world to hit Legend, and he hit Legend with Trev. That was because people were just running Lantern everywhere. They don't run Lantern as much. Frostlass hasn't played, but I don't think it's as good because it doesn't beat Whiscash anymore, or Poliwrath, because Poliwrath can just still no shield a Shadow Ball. Now moving into the new section we added like a couple months ago, which is the top performance. What are the top performance? Those are the Pokemons that has been doing way above 500 average score on PvPoke. I think the best performing Pokemon in this cup is basically Shadow Poliwrath, because it's just insanely good. Shadow Dragonair is insanely good, and Skeldridge is here because it literally just beat both of those two. See, sometimes for you to be good, you just have to do better than the best two. Like, that's the only reason why Skeldridge is good. 1, 2, you beat them. That's why Skeldridge is actually, people, like, that's why people underestimate this Pokemon. Yeah, it's like, because people, like, always, like, okay, like, look at the leaderboard, all of these Pokemons beats it. Well, technically, the people at High MMR use at least Poliwrath, or the Dragonair, or both. And it is always a Skeldridge to counter those two, and still have a Shadow Ball to hit everything in the neutral matchups. So we're going to talk about the BB. Now moving into the top teams in the Great League meta. And the first team, if you guys watch this channel, I always advocate something, we call it PvPoke top 3 ranking. And it's basically at the best, the number 1, number 2, number 3 on PvPoke. So number 1 is Licky, it's in the lead. Number 2, Cresselia is in this swap. Number 3 is Registeel. Why Cresselia is the safe swap here? Because it's number 2. That's literally the only reason. So these teams are supposed to be good on paper if people use all the 600 eligible Pokemons for the Great League. But people don't use that. People barely use 20 to 25 Pokemons. I think even sometimes you could say 15. As an example, in the current Remix meta, in the Fantasy meta, it's like 5 to 9 Pokemons, up to 10. So the condensed meta is not as popular as, the condensed meta is what you need to care about. And that's why we added a new section we call the top performing team. Top performing teams are basically the teams that has been performing the best against the condensed meta. And the number 1 performing team on the on PvPoke, I think, is Azu, Carbink, Medi. Why? Because these Pokemons have a play almost against everything. Yes, Whiscash might be tough here. Yes, Serperior might be tough here, and here. But people stopped using Serperior as much. And another example about a top performing team is the Shadow Dragonair, Skarmory, and Whiscash. Whenever you see Skarmory, you should always expect Whiscash. Whenever you see Whiscash, that doesn't mean you will see Skarmory. But this team relies on the fact that a Dragonair will just win most of the leads, a Skarmory will RPS something in the back, and Whiscash will land it, will be like against a Gligar or like against Lantern or something. So yeah, this is why this team is top performing, because you rely, basically if you win the lead, you're just gonna win the game. Another top performing team is another, it's an old team from last season, which is Shadow Dragonair, Medi, Carving. Whenever you see Medi, you can use Poliwrath. Whenever you see Poliwrath, you could use Medi. Another top performing team, which I still refuse to believe in, which is Shadow Poliwrath with Credeli and Skeletor. I still don't think Credeli is as good as people say. I know lots of people have been saying that Credeli is the new best safe swap, but I don't think so. Like, I had a Whiscash upper shield once against Credeli, and I was able to win. I mean, I had residual energy, but as a mud boy, you're not supposed to beat the grass, even upper shield. Skeletor is a good anti-meta answer to those Poliwraths and Serperiors, and it's not even bad against the Gligar, but you need one Incinerate lead. So yeah, these are the top performing teams. Now moving into the basic meta teams. What are the basic meta teams? Usually those are the teams that work the best within like the average MMR. So the top performing team, you will see them more about in the high MMR, but this one's like, let's say from the 2300 to the legend MMR, those teams are like technically better because people run lots of random stuff that aren't supposed to run. Well, everyone can run whatever they want, but sometimes you will see someone running, as an example, a Credeli. You don't see Credeli at high MMR, even though I just said it, but as that was just a random example. And leading the BBML teams, the team I played so many times during the last Great League rotation. If you click on my channel and you go to the last 3 Great League metas, the last 3 Great League videos, it's literally about this team: Shadow Dragonair, Poliwrath, and Whiscash. What's this team good about? Well, it's 2 Pokemons that have massive fast move pressure. One Pokemon has insane charge move pressure, and everything just pressure everything. If you get a good lead, I mean, this team is required, like, you know, like fast-paced gameplay. Like, if you're slow on the swap, you might just lose. As an example, if they swap in Vigoroth, you were like 3 fast moves late, and then you swap to Poly, then you have to double shield. That's an example. Now, moving into some ABB teams, and the most common ABB teams is basically Skarmory Double Water. This second water could be Quag or the Swampert or anything. You'll see someone like Battle Bell loves this core. He's been playing Skarmory Whiscash core since Season 1. Maybe that's why he's struggling, because he only knows how to play one core. Hi, Battle Bell. Another ABB team, I think this team was slightly more popular because this was supposed to be an answer to those what was the team that people were trying to counter with this? Basically, Poliwrath in the back. Yes, it's not as comfortable of a matchup for any of these, but trust me, Incinerate with the buff, now it does insane amount of damage. If Incinerate is neutral, you're just gonna win, because Incinerate is just OP of a fast move. It does so much damage. Now moving into some Gligar, Pelipper teams. Gligar or Pelipper, those two perform the most with the teams that are supposed to be like if you're trying to hard counter Whiscash. So you have to run something like a Grass, like a Venusaur with Gligar, or Pelipper maybe, and then you run Lantern just for like a neutral play. The problem with this team is that you're triple weak to Lantern, so this one in the lead, you have to replace this with something that beats Dragonair. You could do DD here. That's why I have it as a small Pokemon here and there. So yeah. Now moving into the Double Dragon team. Double Dragon, people complain that this team is just insanely good because of the insane fast move pressure. Basically, if you don't shield one of the baits, you're gonna end up getting Dragon Breath down. If you don't have a Steel Pokemon, you will struggle. Yeah, and people don't run as many Steel of Pokemon, so if you don't see Steel Pokemons, you could run the superior version, where like you have a hard check for the Whiscash, because Whiscash technically can have a good play against here, and 2 Scalds from Whiscash can KO Shadow Dragonite. So, and now moving into some Glowzire teams. I couldn't find any Glowzire teams. It's literally the same. I updated it like last month. Like, these are the only 2 teams I could find about the Glowzire. And most of the Gloodsire teams are always with a flyer like Mandibuzz. I understand that Mandy is technically a Pokemon that can beat the other ground Pokemon, such as Whiscash and Gligar. So maybe that's why they choose it over Gligar. Also, it has a good play against the Frostlass. It has a play, technically. So you're not as weak. But technically, people don't use Frostlass anymore. If you remember, if you don't know how to play Great League, you can always run Triple Charm. We have a good video about it. Don't punish the 3300 battlers with this toxic team. Just tap your way to legend. And triple counter is actually insanely good, okay? Wallower made this team, but then Dialab made it popular, I guess. The last couple seasons, he still played this team. You basically drop the Obstagoon, and now you use this. And maybe, hopefully, when they bring the Annihilate, we will be replacing it with the stupid Toxicroak, because Toxicroak just doesn't beat anything. It doesn't have any stats product. So yeah, that's pretty much it for today. Thank you so much everyone for watching. This is the end of the video. If you guys like the video, make sure to leave a like on the channel, subscribe, and see you in the next video. Peace.